We are here with new episode. During a visit to St. Mary's Church, something unexpected yet deeply moving took place. A little girl, filled with curiosity and a heavy heart, approached Kate Middleton with an innocent question about God. What she didn't anticipate was that Kate's response would touch her so profoundly that it would bring tears to her eyes. "Don't do it, Emily," her father, David, whispered gently, placing a steadying hand on her arm as she started to rise from the pew. "The princess is about to speak." But 10-year-old Emily couldn't hold back any longer. She had been watching Kate Middleton throughout the entire church service, clutching her mother's Bible so tightly that her small fingers had turned white. A question had been burning in her heart ever since her mother's funeral 6 months ago, and she simply couldn't wait another second to ask it. "I need to ask her the question that's been on my mind, Daddy," Emily whispered back. Her bright red dress, the last one her mother had picked out for her, rustled softly as she pulled away. "Mommy said Kate believes in Christ and knows how to talk to God. She told me before Emily's voice faltered, but her resolve remained strong. She remembered her mother's stories about the princess's faith, how Kate had found strength in God during difficult times, especially when she had been very ill. Emily's mother, Ava, had always told her that faith could provide comfort in the darkest moments, just as it had for Kate. David watched helplessly as his daughter slipped from his grasp. He recognized that determined look in her eyes, the same quiet strength Ava had displayed throughout her battle with cancer. Even in her final weeks, Ava had insisted on reading Bible stories to Emily every night, her voice growing weaker, yet her faith unwavering. "God sends us angels when we need them most," she had told Emily. "Sometimes they wear crowns, and sometimes they don't. But they are always there when we need answers." The congregation shifted in their seats, murmurs of uncertainty rippling through the crowd as the little girl in red made her way toward the ornate podium where the Princess of Wales stood, preparing to address the church. Emily's Sunday school teacher felt her heart tighten at the sight. Every Sunday since Ava's passing, she had seen Emily sitting alone in the last pew, reading her mother's Bible, tracing her small fingers over the handwritten notes Ava had left in the margins. It was both heartbreaking and inspiring to witness a child seeking solace in the same words that had given her mother strength. Kate Middleton had just reached the ancient wooden lectern when the Vice Reverend Thomas stiffened in his chair, his hand gripping the armrest. Years of maintaining church protocol warred with the unexpected sight before him. A royal visit followed strict procedures, and interrupting such an event was unthinkable. But before he could intervene, Kate raised a gentle hand, signaling him to wait. She wanted to hear what this little girl had to say. A hush fell over the centuries-old stone church. The tension in the air was palpable as the congregation watched the scene unfold. They had come expecting a traditional Sunday service, a brief royal appearance, a polite speech. But the emotions radiating from this small girl suggested something far more profound was about to take place. Kate instinctively adjusted her position, bending slightly to meet Emily at eye level. Something in the child's expression struck a deep chord within her, reminding her of her own children. There was a vulnerability in Emily's gaze, a silent plea for understanding. Whatever had driven this little girl to defy royal protocol was clearly something that mattered deeply to her. "Hello there," Kate greeted warmly, her voice carrying effortlessly through the church's acoustics. "I love your red dress. It's absolutely beautiful." Emily gave a small, shy smile. Her voice, amplified by the podium's microphone, trembled as she responded. "Thank you, Your Royal Highness. My mommy picked it out for me before she went to heaven." The words echoed through the vast church, striking a chord with everyone present. Several members of the congregation wiped their eyes, moved by the raw honesty in Emily's voice. Kate's face softened with understanding. She noticed the Bible clutched in Emily's small hands, its worn brown leather cover a testament to years of faithful reading. "That looks like a very special book you're holding." Emily nodded, running her fingers over the cover in a gesture that seemed both habitual and comforting. "It is. It was my mommy's. She used to read to me from it every night. She told me that God listens when we talk to him." Kate nodded gently, encouraging her to continue. The congregation held their breath, waiting for the question that had brought this brave little girl forward. Emily took a deep breath. "Is my mommy still talking to God?" she asked, her voice small yet filled with an aching need for reassurance. "Can she hear me when I pray?" A hush fell over the church, the weight of the moment settling over everyone present. Kate's eyes glistened as she reached out and gently took Emily's hand. She had not expected this question, but she felt its significance in every fiber of her being. She had experienced loss, had leaned on her own faith in difficult times, and now she understood what this child needed to hear. Taking a moment to gather her thoughts, Kate spoke with quiet certainty. "I believe with all my heart that your mommy is still with you, Emily. Love like that never fades. When you pray, she hears you. And God hears you too. She may not answer in words, but you'll feel her in the love around you, in the kindness of others, and in the strength she left inside you." Emily's lower lip trembled, her small hands tightening around her mother's Bible. Tears welled in her eyes, but they weren't just from sadness. There was comfort in Kate's words, a soothing reassurance that settled deep within her heart. The congregation sat in stunned silence, many wiping away their own tears. In that moment, the royal visit became something far greater than a formal appearance. It became a testament to faith, love, and the unseen connections that bind us even after death. David, standing a few feet away, felt his own eyes misting. He had tried so hard to be strong for his daughter, to give her answers when she needed them. But sometimes, it took a kind stranger, someone with a crown but also a heart, to say exactly what was needed. Emily sniffled and whispered, "Thank you, Your Royal Highness." Kate squeezed her hand and smiled. "You are very brave, Emily. Never stop talking to God. And never stop believing that love never truly leaves us." As Emily made her way back to the pew, she felt a little lighter, as though some of the heaviness inside her had lifted. And as the congregation sat in quiet reflection, they knew they had witnessed something truly special that morning, an exchange that none of them would ever forget. "It was my mummy's," Daddy says. "When I read it, it's like getting a hug from her." Emily's small voice, captured by the microphone, filled the ancient church with raw innocence and emotion. The weight of her words settled over the congregation like a warm embrace. From his pew, David locked eyes with his daughter, his heart swelling with a mixture of pain and pride. He could see the grief in her eyes, the longing for a mother who was no longer there, yet he also saw something else, a quiet strength that was beyond her years. Kate Middleton, standing at the grand podium, observed the child with deep empathy. She understood the weight of loss, the ache that never truly fades. Wanting to comfort the little girl, she gently asked, "Would you like to show me your favorite part?" Her voice, warm and soothing, echoed throughout the vast church as the congregation sat in reverent silence, waiting to witness what would unfold next. With delicate fingers, Emily opened the Bible. The pages fell naturally to a passage that had clearly been read over and over again, its edges softened by time and use. Pressed between the well-worn sheets was a photograph, a smiling woman, her eyes filled with love and warmth. It was impossible to miss the resemblance between her and the little girl standing before the princess. Kate leaned in, her voice gentle as a whisper, "Is this your mummy?" Emily nodded, running her small fingers over the image as if trying to bring her mother back to life through touch. This was her favorite part of the Bible, she confided softly, as though revealing a sacred secret. "She used to read it to me every night before bed. She said it was where God showed her how much He loved us." The hush that fell over the church was profound. Many in the congregation discreetly wiped tears from their eyes, deeply moved by the pure, unguarded love Emily had for her late mother. Taking a deep breath, Emily looked up at Kate with wide, searching eyes. The question that had been burning in her heart for so long finally spilled from her lips. "Princess Catherine, how do you know when God is listening?" A ripple of emotion moved through the church. It was a question that had no simple answer, yet it was one that touched every soul present. Even Kate seemed momentarily caught off guard. She took a moment, letting the weight of the inquiry settle before speaking. "You know, that is one of the most beautiful questions anyone has ever asked me," she began, her voice rich with sincerity. "And it comes from a beautiful heart." She paused, her gaze never leaving Emily's. "When I was your age, I used to wonder the same thing. I would pray and sometimes I wasn't sure if anyone was listening. But do you know what I've learned? Emily nodded eagerly, gripping the Bible tightly, desperate for an answer. Kate smiled, her expression soft yet wise. I've learned that God listens in ways we might not expect. Sometimes he answers through the kindness of others. Sometimes it's in the quiet moments when we're afraid but suddenly feel peace. And sometimes he speaks to us through the love we carry for those we've lost. The congregation was completely still, hanging on to every word. Kate continued, her voice taking on an almost storytelling quality. When I first became a mother, I was terrified. One night, when Prince George was very small, he wouldn't stop crying. I felt lost, unsure if I was doing anything right. In the middle of the night, I found myself in the chapel, tears running down my face as I prayed for guidance. The church remained hushed as she spoke, her story weaving its way into their hearts. I remember feeling the softest breeze through the stained glass windows and hearing distant bells. It reminded me of something my own mother once told me, that God speaks in whispers, not shouts. And in that moment, I felt a sense of peace. I realized then that being a mother wasn't about being perfect, it was about having faith that love would be enough. Tears slipped down Emily's cheeks as Kate reached out, resting a gentle hand on her small shoulder. And do you know what, Emily? I believe your mummy is one of those whispers now. When you hold her Bible close, when you feel her love around you, that's God listening. That's him telling you she is always with you. Emily pressed the Bible against her chest, as if holding on to her mother's presence. Her small shoulders shook, and before David could reach her, Kate had already knelt down, wrapping the child in a warm, motherly embrace. Your mummy's love will always be with you, she whispered, her own voice thick with emotion. That is God's way of showing you his listening every single day. A quiet sob echoed from the pews, followed by another. The church, once filled with protocol and formalities, had become a place of shared sorrow and healing. But just as the moment settled, a young boy's voice rang out from the congregation. But why does God let sad things happen? A collective hush fell once more. It was a question that haunted many, a thought that lingered in the corners of the heart. Kate exhaled slowly, gathering her thoughts. That is another big question, she admitted, her honesty refreshing. And I don't have all the answers. But what I do know is that when sad things happen, God often sends us the people we need the most. Sometimes they are our family, sometimes they are friends. And sometimes, she glanced at Emily with a small smile, they are brave little girls who remind us to keep asking questions and to never lose hope. A small, hopeful smile broke across Emily's tear-streaked face. Just like my mummy used to say, she whispered, God gives us special friends when we need them most. Kate's eyes glistened as she reached into her handbag, pulling out a delicate silver angel pin. I was given this when I was about your age, she explained, holding it up so Emily could see. It always reminded me that I was never alone. Would you like to have it? Emily's eyes widened. Really? But it's yours. Kate nodded, pinning it to Emily's red dress with care. And now it's yours. To remind you that God is always listening, and that his love and your mummy's love will always be with you. With a gasp of joy, Emily threw her arms around Kate's neck, and the princess held her close, unbothered by royal protocol. Throughout the church, not a single eye remained dry. From the elderly parishioners to young families, each person had been touched by the profound moment of faith and love. As Kate returned to the podium, Emily had one last question. Princess Catherine, do you think my mummy can see me from heaven? Kate smiled through her own tears. I believe she sees you every day, sweetheart. And I know she is incredibly proud of the brave, thoughtful girl you've become. Emily's final words echoed off the stone walls of the church, carrying a message far beyond those present. Thank you for showing us God's love. Kate's prepared speech had been forgotten. Instead, she spoke about faith, hope, and the wisdom that comes from the youngest among us. As she glanced at Emily one last time, she realized that what had begun as a formal visit had transformed into something far greater. A little girl's innocent question had opened hearts and reminded everyone that love, faith, and hope could bridge even the greatest of distances, including the one between a princess and a grieving child in a red dress. Thanks for watching.